Chandler, I just wanted him to share his heart a little bit about what, this ministry looks like here in our county so that you can get an idea of what this tangibly looks like around us. So, Chandler, tell them a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your heart for this is.
Well, first of all, it's a blessing to be here with all of you today. I never imagined that I would be working in this field. Actually, it was an accident. However, it wasn't an accident.
Right.
I pretty much, credit two women that really changed my life growing up in Jackson, Mississippi, the deep, deep, deep South. Both of my grandmother, my paternal grandmother and my maternal grandmother. My maternal grandmother actually raised me when my mom and dad wasn't able to, take care of me at that time. And these two women were very impactful in my life. I grew up around a lot of crime, violence, daily, and I know because of those two women, I'm still here today. They were some praying sisters. I saw two women who didn't meet any strangers. When I would go visit my grandmother in Edwards, which is my father's mother, she would always have kids in the house. I'm like, where did these kids come from? She literally had a pulse on her community to infect it with her love for young people who didn't have a home, who didn't have anywhere to go, as well as my grandmother in the city that I grew up in, Jackson, LBH. She would take my clothes and give them to someone else. I was like, Grandma, we can't afford. It's like, don't worry about that. Don't stay out of grown people's business. She was very caring. She was very loving. She was very understanding. And it didn't matter what they had done. My grandmother brought in kids who were pretty much pawns to those who were involved in drug activity. And so she would bring them into the home. She would go visit drug dealers in jail, letting them know that they had a place to stay when they got out, that they can turn their life around if they so choose to. And so this infused me at an early age. This was very impactful to me at an early age that I knew I wanted to help. I didn't know what, but I did know I wanted to help. I actually, grew up idolizing coaches. Especially in the black community, we kind of hang on every word. Coaches are like our life, They are like our counselors, our dads, our uncles, our big brothers, things like that. But they meant everything to, black boys growing up, especially in that community. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I could be a coach. By the grace of God, I ended up in college. If you saw my grades, you'd been like, how did that happen? But by the grace of God, I went to college. I won a scholarship playing basketball at Panhandle State University, a small community in Goodwell, Oklahoma. It was an amazing experience. It was a culture shock for me. I had never seen so many white people in my life. But it was an experience that I wouldn't take back. And so I was just definitely, on my path to becoming a coach, did pretty well in school, because my grandmother threatened me, so.
That's a good grandmother. That's a good grandmother.
Yeah, and so, I was getting ready. I was actually doing student teaching and got hired in Borga, Texas. And another shocker, I think I was the only black in that area. And I will admit, it scared the living crap out of me. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
It's accurate, though.
Yeah, but I was terrified because I was like, oh my gosh, who do I lean on? Who do I depend on? And this is before, Christ for me. I didn't know Christ. Well, I take that back. My grandmother would definitely tell me about Christ. However, grandson wouldn't listen. Teenagers, children, we're always smarter than our caretakers. We're not. Mm-hmm. I called my grandmother. I said, I can't do this. She's like, why? Because there are no black people in this place. Like none, zero, zilch. And I went back to my advisor. I said, I can't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. And so my advisor linked up with someone, and they reached out to a lady in Arizona, and it was a women's shelter. It was an abuse shelter. And so at my graduation, I actually had a job. It was kind of, like pretty cool. I was like, man, I got a job. When I went into this women's shelter, it literally changed my life. I was engulfed in this life. Like, how can we help these women? How can we, make sure that they're safe? Things like that or whatever. And so the director of the program made a contact call to one of her connections in Ventura, California. And it was the gang prevention program. That was the first taste of community involvement through foster care. And it was needed. I was pretty much pushed into this life where I was, helping kids, stay off the street, getting them, to a place where they can feel safe. I had kids where they were, getting beat up at home and didn't have anywhere to go. And so, I turned my job into a mission to make sure that these children had a family, stable family. Experiencing, kids going through violent moments, even the parents going through violent situations, trying to get them help, trying to stabilize families became everything to me. Because even though at that time I didn't have my mother and father, I had a stabilizing force in two women who I could always go back to. They were my foundation. Before I met Christ by myself, they were my foundation. And that was very important for me to see, young boys, young girls have stabilization in their lives. Because kids I can remember a time when I fell off my tricycle and my grandmother, she didn't put a Band-Aid on it, she kissed my knee. And then she put a little peroxide on it and blew on it, and it was like, it was all better. That's what these children today and during that time needed. They didn't need a Band-Aid. They needed that kiss on the knee. They need, it's gonna be okay. My freshman year in college was a disaster. I think I had a 1.6 grade point average or something. It was a disaster. My grandmother said, baby, it's gonna be okay. You're still there. They haven't thrown you out. We just gotta work a little bit harder. And so hearing that was comforting. So I had that. But so many kids in our community, they don't have that. They have, well, we'll see. It may work out. I can't do anything for you. That's what these kids are hearing today. That's what is impacting their lives. That is what sends them to juvenile systems, because they have no hope. They have no foundation. They have no love. They have no guidance. They have no one to tell them, hey, everything's going to be okay. When all hell is broken loose in their lives, they don't have that stabilizing factor in their life to say, you know what? We made a boo-boo. It's okay. I remember my dad's mother used to tell me all the time, she would say, you know what? This is not a challenging situation. This is a situation that we can learn. I always remembered that. See, I had those things in my toolbox, but so many of the youth that I work with today, they don't have that. But I think back to, something that Pastor Corey and I talked about. Having that community around that family is just as important as having the children having that support as well. A lot of times we forget about birth families because they did a bad thing. They hurt them. Well, why did they hurt them? Maybe they hurt them because they were hurt as well.
I want to kind of paint a picture a little bit about what the process looks like. So, how does a kid come into the Department of Family Services? What does that process look like? When you guys get a call, where do they go? What's the next step?
So the department has a hotline, 1-800 hotline. I actually don't know it, so if you need it, it should be on the loudouncounty.gov website if you're interested. But it's a 1-800 number that either teachers, doctors, whoever, anyone in the community can call if they feel that a child is being abused, either mentally, emotionally, or physically. And so once that phone call is made, the hotline person then screens it out to see if it's a case that can be worked on, or if there's a case where it needs to be taken away out of the system. So all calls are not accepted. So, and when I say all calls are not accepted, it may not be an abuse situation once they get the information that they're receiving from that person who's making the call. When a call is accepted, what happens is it goes to the child protective supervisors in our county, and so they staff the case. They immediately send a CPS investigator out to investigate what's happened, things like that. If there is a situation where a child needs to be immediately removed, which has happened over and over again, our placement coordinator is responsible for reaching out to our foster parents in the Loudoun County community, and we're hoping that they accept these children or child in their home at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, whenever. But a lot of times we have issues with that. We have issues with our community actually receiving those families. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of, we have a lot of families, but a lot of families are not willing to take on certain cases. And
which ones are the hardest ones to find placement for?
teenagers. No one likes teenagers.
Was that a blanket statement? Or?
Yeah. Well, I know that I didn't like mine when they were growing up. So I would say that's possibly a true statement. But my oldest is 27, my youngest is 21, and then I have a 23 and 25. So I have 2 boys, 2 girls. And they were teenagers once, and I didn't like them at all. But we really have a challenging task at placing teenagers. For whatever reason, you know, we want little bitty babies and things like that, but that's not the need.
What's a kid, when you pick a kid up, what do they come with?
Unfortunately, I have seen kids come with trash bags. That is the worst feeling in the world. I have tried to, always, when I was working in CPS, I'm sorry, I actually work in foster care now on the other side, trying to be the bridge. But I used to work in CPS, where I had to remove. And so a lot of children would come with trash bags. What I would try to do, anytime I was removing a kid, I would try to have like 3 or 4 duffel bags just in case. Because if you have, kids already know what trash bags are for, to put trash in. So now, not only are they being removed, I'm trash. So mentally, emotionally, that's who I am. I am trash.
Wow. So what are some of the ways, you would give us counsel as a church that wants to make a difference, that wants to, impact this area in our community? What are some of the best ways we can support?
The best ways, first of all, know your limits. I would say that. Adult people, know your limits. Everybody's not called to foster. I'm one of them. I have a story. My situation was a little bit different, but because of my kid having to be removed, well, he wasn't removed, he was placed in prison. And so the emotional rip for me, I knew it was too much. So I found out early that I wouldn't be able to foster. So, of course, I'm a worker. Workers, they need your love, respect, attention, all of that. You would not believe, what are they again? This young lady told me about it, the little stickers. The stickers, okay. The stickers that says, good job, great work. Workers would light up like a Christmas tree if they had like little stickers that just say great work. Because the job it's a lot. It's a lot. And workers want to know that they're appreciated.
Yeah. So obviously foster families is a need, care for caseworkers.
Absolutely.
Anything else you can think of?
We definitely need, and here's the other thing. Everyone shouldn't foster, and that's okay. Don't feel bad about that. Everyone should not foster, but everyone can help. Maybe you can have like, I was thinking about like a care bag for kids that's being removed. You could put something together for that kid that's being removed from that home and things like that, and make sure you have things in there for boys, you have things in there for girls, older boys, older girls, things like that. That's what I think about, because a lot of times that's what I would do. I would actually put like a care bag together, especially when I knew a kid was being removed. I would just actually go out to the store and pick up things like, like body wash or something like that, or and being that I had a lot of practice in feminine products, actually, it's funny, I was the responsible person that had to take my little girls out when, yeah.
Fill in the blanks for yourself.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. I'm was it a girl dad?
A girl dad.
Yeah, I was
I can totally see that.
Yeah, I'm definitely a girl dad. I'm still a girl dad. My boys think I don't like them, but they think it's a conspiracy. But I told them, it's okay. I love them just the same. I just love their sisters better. But, but you know, so, you know, but we do need foster parents. Mm-hmm. It is important. But we need foster parents who are willing to go the distance. It's not, kids are not going to come in a pretty package. It is not going to be pretty because they're dealing with their stuff, their family stuff, and now new stuff that now they feel rejected. Mm-hmm. And so, but we definitely need foster families. We definitely need, and even, you know, support for birth families are going to be essential. Like, you know, Jayani and I have been working on providing support for a family that I'm actually working with now to provide a family around them, you know, as they get ready to receive their children back. And so I think that's important as well.
That's good. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some tangible things that you can do before you go today. But one thing we can do right now is thank you. Thank you for stepping into it. I cannot imagine the PTSD, the trauma that caseworkers themselves go through, and in the number of years that you've been doing it. And as a brother in Christ, I just want to say thank you. And we love you.